Welcome to Catch the AI. I'm your host, Oli Gardner, and this is the show where we take the creativity and experience of brilliant marketers, founders, and professional copywriters and challenge them to face off not only with one another, but with Unbounce's AI. Their challenge? To write the most important and stress-inducing landing page element of all, the headline. And do it better than a robot. And when it comes to AI-generated copy, there's a lot of fear and skepticism about how effective and human-sounding it can actually be. And that's why we're here. That's what we're here to find out. How to play Catch the AI. Well, our contestants and our AI have written a headline for a series of landing pages, and in each round they'll vote for which headline they think is the best, and then they'll try to guess which of them is AI generated. And that's the part for you to try at home. If you go to this URL, you can also try to catch the AI and outperform our contestants. In this first episode, we have 6 of the most wonderful people I know to play the game today. First up, we have Flavilla Fongang, who is a brand strategist, keynote speaker, author, the founder of 3 Colors Rule, ranked in the top 2 of the UK's most influential women in tech. And she, later on this month, has an amazing book coming out called The Voices in the Shadow, which showcases the journeys of 51 black women in the UK who have impacted the tech industry in a big way. And the really cool part is going to be sent around 300 schools to give young black girls the empowerment they need to feel there's a place for them to succeed professionally. Absolutely incredible. Check it out at that link below. Next, we've got Baer. Jay is the founder of Convince and Convert. He's a 7th generation entrepreneur, author of 6 books on marketing and customer service. He's a licensed tequila sommelier, I don't know how to say that word, and a certified barbecue judge. His amazing twice-monthly newsletter can be found at thebearfacts.com. He's actually a Hall of Fame public speaker, if that's a thing. And let's face it, the most impeccably dressed man in marketing. Welcome to the show, Jay.
Other than you, Ollie, great to be here.
And our more hilarious than a bag of camels is our next contestant, Amy Harrison from Write With Influence. Our first pro copywriter. Amy writes long-form relationship-building sales copy for large organizations who want to sell high-priced products without pissing people off. That's a very noble approach to writing. She's so good, in fact, that we've had her speak at Unbounce's Call to Action conference 3 times. What you might not know about Amy is that she's also a brilliant comedy sketch artist. And I'm just going to cover myself up because you have to see this big. This is a preview of what she'll be releasing on Instagram in a few weeks. So follow along at the Amy Harrison because that just looks hilarious. It's awesome. Now, moving over to this side, we have Melanie Diesel, another exceptional speaker. She's the author of the Content Fuel Framework, and her cat Luna may or may not be in the room, asleep on her feet. Maybe it'll make an appearance later on. I've been following Melanie's Twitter account for a while now, and if you want to learn how to create big, meaningful engagement on Twitter, she's got some kind of magic writing style that just brings people along with her. So if you're going to follow 6 people today, make it these 6 and start with Melanie. Moving on, we have Wil Reynolds from Syria Interactive. Aside from being a brilliant speaker, an innovative leader, Wil is one of the most giving people I know. Just an incredibly generous person. Every year, he participates in Covenant House's Sleep Out, where he sleeps on the freezing streets of Philadelphia to raise money for homeless youth. So check out that link. It goes to a tweet where you can support Wil for that. He's trying to raise a ton of cash like he did last year. And finally, we have Nandini Jammi, activist, keynote speaker, activist, and co-founder of Check My Ads, a brand safety consultancy working with Fortune 500 companies and leading tech platforms. You have to check out her newsletter on how marketers have broken society and how we can fix it. She's also an SEO nerd and currently holds the #1 position on Google for how to write a social media apology. I imagine that comes from some of the companies she's working with, trying to get them to recover from their mistakes. Fun fact, I met Nandini all the way back in 2015 on the CTA Conf boat cruise. And there's actually another marketer on board that day who later became my wife. So I'm going to give you an assist point right off the bat, Nandini, for helping that be a memorable night and kind of changing my life. So that's that. And with that, it's game time. Now, quick question for everyone. If you could raise your hands from here to here based on how confident you are that you can tell the difference between a human written headline and a machine written headline. So not confident, super confident. All right. Nandini's up there. Okay, we're going to see how these predictions pan out. So we're going to jump into the first page. So basically, as we go through each page, you'll have about 20 seconds to vote for the headline that you think is the best. There are 7 headlines. There's the 6th that you wrote, and then there's the 7th that was written by Unbounce's AI. You'll vote for which one you think is the best, but also which one you think was written by the AI. So this is our first page, and this is a company called Gooby. It's an e-commerce subscription toothbrush company. Let's have a little scroll down here. They're the kind of Warby Parker of toothbrushes, award-winning dentist recommended toothbrush, and it's cheaper than other ones. So basically, okay, I'll read out the headline here. If everyone wants to vote on, now's the time to vote. The actual headline here was brushing perfected. Okay, that's what the company had for their headline. And in a moment, I'll show you all the headlines that we're choosing from, right? Yes, feel free to trash anything that you think isn't as good as what you would have. It
doesn't say headline perfected, does it?
It is nicely right, exactly. I'm brushing my toddler's teeth twice a day, and that's really hard. So I could probably use a better brush like this. Has everybody locked in both of your votes? Yeah, all right, here we go. We're seeing the results come in. Okay, so we see the headlines there. So who wants to let me know, like, which headline did you vote for and why? Like, which one did you think was the best? Jay, you want to kind of kick us off there?
I voted for, the toothbrush that your teeth would choose. I just like that phrasing. I think it sort of underscores the value proposition in a way that's super obvious and intuitive, and also just funny enough. You're like, oh, I want to read more. Why would my teeth choose that? I don't actually survey my teeth often, so let's figure out what it's all about. So I just like that one. But I will say, considering there's 7 or 8 here, there's none that I would say are like, nope, that's the worst. I would say all of these are better than what they have now. So kudos to us.
Right, yeah, good job, everybody. Someone else, like, what kind of attracted you to one of them?
I went for start the day with $1 million smile. I think it's a good way to just get that good energy. And yeah, I liked it. It was straightforward to get to the point. I don't know if it's done by one of the humans, but I see people smiling. So
yeah, try not to give it away. Will, what do you think?
I think I went with the toothbrush your teeth would choose. It was kind of tongue in cheek. It made me be like, oh yeah, I wonder what my this whole like, I wonder what my teeth would choose as a toothbrush if they could choose. I'm with Jay on that one.
Which one did we vote for as being the AI?
I went with the bottom one there. Let's see, professional clean at home now made affordable.
Why was that?
I guess I was trying to think of words throughout the page that could have been picked up on, and that just seemed like it was kind of grabbing at a couple of those key propositions and just pulling those keywords up. So I don't know if that's the right approach, but that's what I did.
Interesting. Amy?
Yeah, I went for the same, for that reason, that I thought it would be looking for benefits. So professional, clean, made affordable. I actually chose that as the one that I really liked as well, because I liked how it, I like the idea of a professional clean at home stacks the value. Right. It goes beyond cleaning your teeth. It's like, oh, I can imagine what it's like to go to the dentist and be pampered because it's lovely. And I just thought, yeah, that was a really nice visual. And I thought that was a nice visual that went beyond just the toothbrush and good cleaning.
It hadn't occurred to me that we might be choosing the AI on purpose. I thought this was like human versus AI situation here. But I guess if they do the best, right?
Yeah, I mean, who knows how good it is. Nandini, which one did you think was the AI?
Yeah, you know what? I was choosing between the last two, get the award-winning toothbrush at an affordable price, or professional clean at home. made affordable. I have to go with Amy on this one. I liked the professional clean at home. I thought that was potentially AI, but also potentially just a really well-written headline, because I want to know more about how a professional clean has been made affordable now. So you have my interest. You have my attention.
Actually, it's so interesting how people interpret these. Actually, I've got the results in for this. So the person with the most votes for their headline is Melanie. So which was your headline? You got, so the 6 votes, you got 3 of them. So half of the crew here.
I did the toothbrush your teeth would choose. That was me.
Very nice, very nice. And did anyone figure out the AI? Well, it was Will and Jay got that right. It's the get the award-winning toothbrush at an affordable price was the AI one. This is Class Creator. So this is all about helping teachers figure out who's going to be in their class and having lots of diversity. And it's a very long page. So Amy, you write long form copy. So this might be, someone who you can help out here. It's a hugely long page. So if you all want to lock in what you thought was the best headline for this, and yeah, I don't know what the AI is going to do with all this text. This is an interesting one. That is very long. Something we've learned at Unbounce too from our conversion benchmark report is some industries long is great, but there are some where you need like a tiny amount of copy in order to convert more highly. So it's definitely interesting to see something this giant on here. All right, so we've got chaos-free classroom management. What's interesting is you get several kind of styles of headline. You get the super clear going for clarity, which often becomes verbose. You get the clever trying to be funny, or sometimes you get a question, which can be. There's a lot of debate, I think, about when there's a question headline, because if you self-identify as a no, you might leave. But it's an interesting strategy.
Yeah, what's interesting is that at the same time it's funny to come out with titles, but when you come up with a headline, you also think about that the brand personality and what really sounds like them. But yeah, there's no, as you say, there's no wrong or right headlines. It's about trying to think in terms of, again, which one catch our attention the most, which I like. It's interesting to see how we all think differently.
I would say too, I don't know about the others, but this was the hardest one for me to come up with a headline for, given how long the page was. I struggled with this one. I saved it for last.
It's also a little bit of a crime against graphic design as well. So it was a little hard to look at, much less read. No offense to these fine folks. The other thing I thought was interesting about this one, Ollie, is you have to really know what classroom management is and why that's a thing. Like, this is a very distinct audience, and I am not it. And so I actually did have to read this one quite a bit, because I'm like, well, what exactly is this thing? And why is this a good thing? And it's just not something that, a toothbrush I pretty much had a handle on its core value proposition. This one took a little more effort.
I used to be a teacher, so for me, I think I might have cheated a bit.
You better win. You better win.
No, I probably won't, because we'll see. I don't want to give anything away.
So which one did you go for, Melanie? What was your favorite?
I struggled with this one a little bit. I think I went to, actually, I don't even remember what I voted for now, but I'm pretty sure it was classroom scheduling solved, I think.
Right.
I was looking for something simple. And again, that may be biased by the fact that it took me a lot to figure out what the heck this thing was doing. So I think I was looking for like simple and approachable.
Yeah, I think it's going to need to be a really good headline to get people to continue. Flavilla, what was your take?
I went for designed by teachers to build optimal classroom experiences. I think think about teachers to be tell me exactly what it does and tell me what I get, so get to the point so I can see what I'm here, especially if this page was, as Jay and Melanie mentioned, it was very overwhelming.
Much like classroom management, right?
Did anyone vote for the second one, the really long one?
Mm-mm.
Yeah, the teachers are heroes thing. That made me wonder if it was well, maybe that was Will, having been a teacher.
No, my favorite was chaos-free classroom management. Because if you've actually ever had to manage a classroom, there's a lot of things happening at once. Like there's multiple things happening at once, especially as a teacher trying to plan your classroom. You're like, I thought I went to school to teach kids, and now I'm spending all this time figuring out like seat assignments and stuff like that. Like that wasn't what I went to school for. So yeah, that's I like chaos-free classroom management because it was pretty freaking chaotic at times.
That's good. That's good. Who had a solid handle, they think, on what the AI headline was?
I went for classroom scheduling solved, straightforward to the point. But again, I thought that one was just probably the AI got tired. Like, it was too much content. Let me get what is important in this.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I just thought about that one.
Anyone else think they Nandini?
Yeah, I went with easily assign students to classes. I thought it was a straightforward one, not necessarily the higher level benefit of the product that I think a human would be able to write. So that's my take.
That's an interesting point about what conclusions or assumptions, I guess, the AI is making when it comes up with things. Is it looking for keyword stuffing? Is it, what kind of types of attribute does it pick up on? All right, we got the votes in here. And I mean, you are just absolutely crushing it, Melanie. You got
Legend.
four of the 6 this time. Which one was your headline?
It was chaos-free classroom management, but I have to be totally honest. That was primarily because all I saw was chaos. So I was like, I don't really know what the benefits are. So I'm just going to go with what's going to make this easier.
Ollie, I think your new slogan should be chaos-free landing page management.
I like
Your
it.
slogan should be hire Melanie to do your headline.
Right?
That's what the AI is teaching me.
Yeah, this is like a business development game show for Melanie.
That's what we
Sears
want.
revenue goes right after today.
Well, who got the AI? Who chose that correctly? Well, we're seeing 2 from the same, and then Nandini's joining in there. All right. So, yeah, the AI was easily assign students to classes.
Oh,
Very simple.
Yeah.
What did you guys guess? I really have no idea.
Yeah, what drew you to that? Like, what was in that made you think that?
It was almost the opposite. I almost looked at it from a process of elimination, right? Like I always feel like the AI is not going to be good at the kind of cheeky ones, right? Because it requires a level of humor nuance that's going to be hard for an AI to pick up on. I didn't think it would do the really long one because it's not really a best practice. And so I sort of thought, all right, the 2 that I thought might have been the AI were the one that was the AI, easily assigned students to classes, and then what used to take 30 hours now takes 30 minutes. So I sort of thought, well, you could pick up on that couplet and roll it into a headline. But I'm not sure how the AI is tuned in terms of putting numbers in the headline. So I chose with assigned students to classes.
Yeah, it's interesting when you say about best practices. Like, what does it know about best practices? I mean, it doesn't know marketing best practices, but yeah.
Or does it?
Maybe. Amy, actually, so Jay touched on the humor aspect. Humor is one of your things. How confident do you feel that AI could do that, to bring humor to it?
I think it could probably do, how when you're little and you start telling jokes because you've heard it, you mimic it, you mix them up, and it comes out. Like my brother's favorite joke as a kid was, "What's green and woolly? My jumper." And that he would tell that time and time again until my eldest brother just had a breakdown. So I think that you can get that sort of elementary level of humor by mimicking look, because there's definitely patterns to it. I think what's harder is maybe that the observational, looking for the quirky, looking for the taking a normal situation and looking at how we could possibly subvert it to find humor in it.
Right, and I guess the AI it might know a list of funny words, and but not it doesn't need to be a funny word, right? It's the way they're strung together that makes it funny. It's I have no idea about that. Nandini, what drew you to that?
Yeah, I was thinking, I did a little bit of what everyone else was doing. I knew the AI probably doesn't have a great sense of humor, but I do think the AI is really good at picking up on what the thing is. So while I think some of these headlines are selling benefits and feelings, the AI is literally it's like going straight to the point, telling you what the thing is.
Yeah, what's going to be interesting, and I think you'll maybe get there as we go along, is you'll probably start hunting for patterns. Like, what is it doing? How is it making these decisions? Because you see in some of them it's interesting, like one of them is title case, or two of them are, and the rest aren't. Title case is the best practice from a writing style perspective. Does the AI know that? It's interesting. Will, what made you choose that?
So I think one of the things that I'm realizing is because I look at a lot of those people also ask questions that Google generates, you start to understand like how AI finds patterns in certain types of things. So I just look at that so much that I'm like, oh, Google's learned that like this word and that word are probably the kind of question they're stitching things together. So that's one thing. The other thing is certain things you feel like you could, whenever I can take a word, remove one or two of the words and place in any other one or two words. So it's like easily assigned students to classes to me. I'm like, oh, that's like easily you can put in front of anything, do X to Y. And I'm like, okay, that's a little bit easier to see the pattern. And then the last thing is it usually lacks experience. So one of the most mind-blowing things I've ever done is talk to one of my clients' customers as they were going through websites and deciding what to click on. And it was for a client who's in the home space. And the guy was like, oh man, if I had found this content, he was like, I could have saved like 10 trips to Home Depot. And I was like, oh, like the idea of if I had found this answer, it could have saved me 10 trips going back and forth to get my deck built was very eye-opening for me in terms of an AI will not have that experience, but we all have.
Right.
We all have had the experience of having to drive back to Home Depot or wherever 2 or 3 or 4 times to get the same thing solved. So I also look for things where it has no feeling, right? So that's another thing I look for, or like no understanding of the bigger picture.
Right. Personally, I'm quite happy to go to Home Depot as many times as I can. I like.
What's interesting is that we're really looking to pick up the AI, but the question we should ask ourselves, obviously, maybe that's another topic, but in terms of when do we use the AI, does it become relevant? When it comes to branding, obviously you want to add some personality experience, but maybe when you're trying to build different landing pages and so forth, and you want to do it quite quick, maybe that's when it becomes relevant. But how do we combine our own human creativity with when the AI can come and jump in and support us? But it's fascinating how everybody's thinking.
I guess as well, it comes down to you do your own version, and then you run something like that on it, and you go like, is that garbage? Or oh, wow, that's actually impressive. Or I find it surprising because we all live in a bit of like, nah, we can't have that happening. We can't have this writing our emails and especially emails. It's a bit too personal, but they're surprisingly good. This is number 3. Okay, so this is a company called Branch, modern, durable office furniture backed by an industry-leading warranty. Ergonomic chairs, desks, conference tables, lounge furniture, and accessories. So the actual headline here was Office Furniture Made Easy. made easy. Maybe it's like a kind of play on words that like it's easy to put together, or it's because I think you order this stuff and it's a custom build or something.
I don't love that headline because I'm not sure that people think that office furniture is hard.
Right.
Like if you're going to emphasize an adjective and the headline is you don't expect it to be this, instead it's that, pretty much universally people have to think of it as the other way.
Right.
And if you asked them how hard is office furniture to order in 2021, I'm not sure people would be like, oh, it's the worst. So that's why I don't love that existing headline.
Who had a favorite here?
I had trouble deciding.
Yeah.
I had trouble
This
deciding.
is the hardest one too. Yep.
Yeah, I really liked Don't Blame Us If They Won't Leave at 5 p.m. And I also liked Furniture So Good They'll Want to Stop Working From Home. It's sort of like the same sentiment, like they'll actually like going to work. And I thought that was conceptually really cool. But I mean, they were so close in sentiment, it was tough for me to pick a favorite. I think I ultimately went with they won't want to leave at 5 p.m.
I feel that's connected to what Will was saying in the last one about the psychology of that kind of underlying it, that would AI be able to figure that out?
Absolutely. Yeah, I went for the same thing as Melanie in the 5 p.m. one. I thought it was cheeky because I do have that issue when I have to tell people, can you please leave? Best furniture. But yeah, I think that was probably one that has more personality. But again, for me, the way I say it is that does it align with how a brand wants to be cheeky and funny? And that's obviously the question that AI cannot do, but a human can do after speaking with the brand itself.
Yeah, and I would argue, Ollie, that this panel of professional marketers and copywriters is going to gravitate towards the wordplay or the funny or the cheekier headline disproportionate to a cross-section of regular customers.
That would be a
We're real proud of ourselves
version.
for puns.
It's a really good point.
That'd be an interesting version, having professionals against customers. That'd be an interesting slant.
Yes.
Amy, which one did you like?
I went for the Furniture So Good They'll Want to Stop Working From Home. So it's like similar sentiment, but I like that idea of that additional benefit. You know, it's current and it's relevant.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's an important part. The working from home. Did that give anyone like, oh, that can't be AI because it doesn't know about COVID?
Yes. I think my thing is that, working from home is obviously we're dealing with a very temporary situation. Things will be different. So it means that you're going to have to change your headline again because, but yes, it's definitely something that I would say AI could have not picked up unless, they're reading the news and become depressed as well, like us. But yes, that would be the only thing. So I don't think it could.
The headline gets sadder and sadder over time.
I want to do this.
I want that dystopian AI. Can I pay extra for that? Is that how that works?
Nandini, which one did you gravitate to?
I can't remember. There's
a lot.
I think I went through. There was a couple of them that I was like, I like this one. I like this one too. I'm not sure. I think I picked. Let's just pretend like I did. Don't blame us if they won't leave a 5. Now that y'all are talking about it, I'm like, I really like that one. I think there's a lot of space. There's a lot of opportunity for to have I guess fun and to make the most of a I guess growing market because everyone's working from home now, and I guess some people want their staff to come back to work, and I think it's cute. But that being said, I like all the ones that kind of reference, I think, as Amy said, the ones that reference, that COVID happened and people are working from home, and certainly having good furniture is a draw. So like a draw to go back to work, like leave your crappy office chair at home behind and lure them into the office again with awesome ergonomic furniture. I think that's really cool.
Interesting, because when you're reading them, like, oh, you kind of want to change your vote, right? Because you're like, yeah, actually, I agree. I like that headline too, which is kind of like social proof, right? You're hearing other people talk about it. I kind of agree with that point, which might go along with if the social proof on a landing page showing the kind of group appreciation of this, it might sway you. It's like an interesting parallel. All right, so who thinks they got the AI right? I'm gonna Jay and Will, and because you're 2 for 2 so far. How confident are you?
Less confident this time, definitely. But I think I could have gotten it right, but I don't know.
I put myself at greater than 50-50. I think I got like a 60-40 maybe.
Oh, okay. All right. Votes are coming in, and all right, let's go. Let's see who got the votes this time. Amy had the best headline. Which one was it?
It was "Don't blame us if they won't leave at 5 p.m." So I had thought.
Oh, good.
I thought about the work from home bit, but I also know I don't know what it's like elsewhere. I wanted it to be relevant, but if possible, timeless outside of COVID. So that's where I set that.
Nice.
Yeah, I like that a lot. Who got the AI right? Well, actually, first, which one do we think was the AI? Anyone spotting patterns? Is this developing?
I mean, maybe I'm a fool to say it right before you reveal the true answer, but I thought the free design back in 72 hours, it just seemed like kind of a strategic miss in terms of what the rest of the page was selling. Like maybe it picked up on the wrong call to action, the wrong selling point there. I don't know.
That's exactly what I thought. I'm like, all right, free in all caps. That feels like catnip. That feels like catnip to a robot.
Anyone want to claim this headline as being the one they wrote?
I'm sorry, Will. My bad. Cut that part out.
Dude, just looking at the other ones, I'm like, why am I even here? How did I get an invite? Oh, my brain was not working.
Well, look, I think you get points if you trick us, right? So I'm just going to say that was your strategy, and you're doing excellent.
Well
Yes, that is no. No.
Well, I mean, maybe you didn't
words.
write a good headline, but you chose the AI again. Well, 3 in a row. That's impressive.
So which one
I'm
was
not good
it?
at writing. I'm good at finding flaws in other people's writing, which basically makes me a hater.
It was get the office you need at a price you deserve.
I actually picked that one as my favorite, I believe. So good job, AI.
Yes, I am seeing that the AI got a vote here. So that
was me. I will admit it. I liked the you deserve part of that.
Right.
And I can see people. I do deserve this nice office after all this we've been through.
I'm just curious as to whether the word deserve is even on here. To see whether it read it or inferred it.
I'm actually surprised that's the AI because I feel like that is a bit of a writerly construct.
Yeah.
So good for Will for picking up on it because I definitely didn't think that was an AI.
Pretty sure it's not on there. The actual headline, Office Furniture Made Easy. Yeah. So good job, AI. That is that's quite surprising. Okay, this is Home Loan Gurus. And the headline here was poor credit score. So we've got, like we discussed before, this is one of the question headlines. So, if you don't think you have a poor credit score, you might just evacuate immediately. So lock in your votes for what you thought was the best headline for this and the AI. It's interesting, though, with the headline redacted, like the photo is kind of meaningless, right? You don't understand the context of use here without that. So we'll scroll down. It's pretty standard landing page. Short. To the point. Let's have a look at the headlines. Instant results, great lender options to get your dream home. Interesting. The alternative to a bank loan. Get approved for a home loan faster than it takes to make a cup of coffee. No cost to apply, response in 5 minutes. Find financing without the frustration. Small down payment. You can still dream big. Interesting. We'll save you money on your mortgage in 9 minutes or less. Who chose what as their favorite here?
I like the coffee one because I think people love, being able to compare, is something that sounds in your head might take longer with a cup of coffee, then it makes it easy to just say, oh, you know, let me go and apply it. I think it's a good way just to use that comparison. I think in terms of, you know, psychology and how you use that in a phrase, it's a good way to just say, you know, I'll give it a try. And I love that. And everybody even love a nice cup of brew.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think a lot of marketing does that, assigning the same value to something cheap to convince you that it's a good daily expense. Amy, what are your thoughts on a question headline?
I think you've got to know your audience pretty well, and I think that if you can maybe, unless you're really confident about the answer, yes or no, it can filter out people who may be a good fit if they just decide there and then. Having said that, if you really know your audience, then a yes or no, like an upfront filter like that can also you can go quite bold and quite strong and bring the right people to you, and, you know, get rid of the people who aren't going to qualify. But sometimes, you know, a question that encourages them to think about something, and I'm not talking necessarily about imagine a world where, but you know, something that gets them to visualize, or, you know, what would you do? What are the challenges? Anything that gets them to think about something that is personal to them, that relates to the problem that you solve or the solutions that you can get for them, that can kind of pull people in. It just engages them a little bit more. But it takes a lot of time to think about what that question should be.
Is anyone here responsible for quite a lot of paid ads? Will? Yeah. I'm curious, what do you think about, because you can segment there by asking the question, and, you know, but then you're going to get a crazy bounce rate, or you could put the question in an ad to prevent them ever getting there. Have you done segmentation like that in an ad?
I'm the fan of, especially we do a lot of B2B SaaS where clicks can be really expensive. So, you know, anything I can do to make you not click on my ad is usually pretty good. The other day, somebody, about a couple months ago, somebody mentioned building content for things you don't do, right? And ranking well for them to negate those audiences later in the paid part of your funnel. So then you don't have to see those people when they come back. And I was like, oh, like that's an interesting concept. If you're like a really high cost X, to write content for the free version and compare all the free ones and use that audience to negate them out. So when they search for the generic word later, that you're like, oh, I know that you're a freebie, so I'm going to negate you out, which is something that I've talked to a friend that they have tried before.
That's really creative. Yeah, that's fascinating. Melanie, what was your headline of choice?
I actually liked the question one in this case. I thought it kind of seemed to me like it was picking up on the sentiment of the page. I did assume that this was going to be a segmented audience with a specific problem. And I guess not knowing what the actual headline was, it sounds like it mirrors it pretty closely. Yeah, I don't know. I just like the
small down payment. You can still dream big.
Yeah, I think, you know, having worked with a lot of finance clients, it is usually pretty high cost per acquisition, and they are typically very targeted in terms of their outreach. So I just assumed that this was a super targeted audience that they know is in some way concerned about a small down payment.
Interesting. Quickly, Nandini, and then I've got some interesting reveal.
Yeah, so I think this is a really interesting and nuanced page, like everyone else has been saying. Like the first one says instant results, great lender options, but then your dream home. So that might be targeted towards someone who is a little bit more, you know, thinking about kind of early stages, like, as you know, am I ready to buy my dream home, versus someone who might have been experiencing some kind of frustration or rejection in terms of being approved for a loan. So it really depends who we're talking to. I personally liked the last one, will save you money on your mortgage in 9 minutes or less. It gets straight to the point. And I think in contrast to some of the other ones that we've been looking at, which are a little bit more like big picture benefit, this is really like a job that needs to be done. So
it's using the Geico formula with the 9 minutes or less. Well, Melanie, you were talking about high-priced items, and who do we know here who deals with customers selling high-priced items? The winner!
Nice.
Yeah, you got 3 votes there. So which was your headline?
It was the small down payment. You can still dream big, because the page seemed to focus in on that. So it wasn't just about getting the results, and I just felt, particularly over here, the property market, small down payments is a huge thing. Like, people are struggling with small deposits, but everyone feels like they deserve a home that they love. And so I thought that trying to tap into where you are now doesn't, you deserve more, and we can help you get there.
Interesting. AI. Who's got a handle on this? Any? Yeah, Will.
Will. Yeah, we only want to hear from Will.
It's the alternative to a bank loan.
I think that's what I picked too.
Interesting. What is it about that?
Well, before I say that, I just want to say how awesome Amy and Melanie are. I realized now in this call why I fangirled over both of you way back when I first met you. And I was like, these people are freaking awesome. And I'm just watching you guys do your thing. And I'm just like, oh, it just brings back warm vibes. But no, for me, the alternative to a bank loan is very, so I recently read a book called Words That Work. And it got me into this headlines can oftentimes be like the blank to blank. And it's like the alternative to, or those kind of things. So for me, I'm like, that's formulaic, because there's an alternative to Vaseline. There's an alternative to a pen. There's an alternative to everything that I have on my desk. So it feels like it's a broad enough opening that you can almost put anything in after it. So that's why I was thinking that might be the AI.
Interesting.
Yeah, I'm starting to wonder if the AI isn't just that giant blog post from copy hackers with all the hundreds of formulas for copywriting.
So who got the AI right this time? Will, you're just crushing it. You got every single
hater,
one.
Hater. I can't write you a good one,
Crazy.
but I can find a bad one.
That's amazing. Will, you clearly seem to have a handle on what the AI is doing here. That's
Well, so think about it. I bring down billions of domains, and people also asks and titles and descriptions. So you start, and then think about it. Like, if you bring in for every search term that we have for every client, we bring in the related searches, we bring in the people also ask, and we bring in all those things. So you start to realize what Google is able to ascertain and how they're able to take a core root of something and then write something. So for instance, we might look at every client's page title that they wrote, and then all the page titles that Google rewrote. And when you run that analysis, you start being like, oh, that machine learning is starting to realize that this is a better way to write this over that. So I think it's just the programming of consistently looking at words at scale, and then also having the scraped intent of how Google tries to understand those is probably the 1-2 punch.
And I think this is a good business development for you too in this episode. That's amazing.
I don't know. You don't want me writing your headlines. I'm just good at matching organic data and paid data together. That's about it.
Oh, that is a pretty big skill. Okay, so we have a winner. It was super close, but little, invisible or kind of drum roll here. And the winner is Amy.
Yay!
With
Well
9
Yay.
points. You just overtook Melanie right at the end there. Yeah, it's interesting, to your point, Will, about the writing and the spotting there, and how the scores go based on that. Final kind of thoughts, any surprises here about
Well, I'm not
the
as
quality?
good at spotting
Yeah.
AI as I thought.
I had a little bit too much confidence.
Yeah, your hand was pretty high at the beginning there. What's also interesting, the Unbounce AI was only chosen once as the favorite headline. So, yeah,
You got to do what Jay said.
It wasn't the favorite.
You got to run this against a bunch of regular, people that don't think about this stuff all day. And that would be really interesting to see.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, my take would be the AI headline is not consistently or empirically the worst. It's maybe also not going to be consistently or empirically the best, but that's not actually the question that you're asking. The question is, what is the time and expertise, therefore cost, associated with writing the headlines yourself? My invoice is in the mail to Ollie. I'm not sure about the rest of you, but I presume that it will be less expensive to have the AI write it. So it's not about, is the AI better? It's how good is the AI in context of the AI being less expensive than doing it as a person.
And at the end of the day, which converts better?
Absolutely. And I think it's exactly that. I definitely realized that I'm definitely not, copywriting is definitely not my core skills, and admire the others who are good at this. And it's exactly that, is that who is it for really? And I think AI didn't do a bad work. I think that obviously, as marketing people, we are really good at evaluating and overthinking maybe those things, and that's probably why we do it better. But somebody else, any consumer, would just be, you know what, that's good enough for me, get to the point, and and people can, maybe people can now afford to have a copywriter. That might be a great tool to have, as Jay mentioned.
And I think it also underscores the importance of A/B testing and running variants, because even in a room of experts, we all had different favorites. There were multiple contenders, and so that's the importance of knowing your audience and testing and looking at all the data like Will's doing over there.
Yeah, and I would say, obviously quick plug that our feature smart copy, which is what does this, is built into our product that can help you test these things. Yeah. That would be an interesting thing for us to try and get to in the future with this, getting some results in there, maybe priming you for getting a headline and then doing something down the road. But thank you everyone for taking part. This was a lot of fun, a lot of insight, and everyone at home, go to that URL and play along and see if you can do as well as everybody did here. So thanks everyone.
Thanks for having us. It's good to see all of you.
Thanks for having us.
Bye.
Yeah, you too. All right.